Hi, let's discuss leases as a type of ownership restriction. Leases. Leases are a type of private restriction. Leases do not transfer the actual ownership of the property. A lease does grant the right of possession and enjoyment to a leasee, known also as a tenant or renter. Leases for periods over a year must be in writing to be enforceable. Long-term leases require signatures of two witnesses. Lease types to know. Gross lease. With a gross lease, tenants pay fixed rent and sometimes utilities. Net lease. With a net lease, the tenant pays fixed rent plus building expenses including taxes and insurance. Percentage lease. With a percentage lease, the tenant pays a base rent plus a percentage based on gross sales. Variable lease. With a variable lease, tenant pays rent based on an index. Ground lease. A ground lease is a lease on land. These types of leases are usually for an exceedingly long period of time, such as 99 years. Gross lease. With a gross lease, the tenant pays a fixed, predetermined amount for the lease as rent, and the landlord pays all the expenses associated with ownership of the property. It is common that utilities such as electric, gas, water, and sewer be put in the tenant's name and be paid by the tenant, even under a gross lease. This is the most common type of lease that is used for residential property. It is also common for office building leases to use a gross lease. Net lease. With a net lease, the tenant pays a fixed rent amount plus they are responsible for the other expenses associated with the property. This includes utilities plus property taxes, property insurance, and maintenance and repairs. This type of lease is most common with commercial property rather than residential property. Percentage lease calculation. This is a type of a commercial lease used when revenue is generated by a business in gross sales. A percentage lease payment is calculated based on the tenant paying a base rent plus a percentage of gross sales. Variable lease. This is a type of commercial lease based on an index. It may also be called an index lease. A variable lease is a rent amount that changes at a set time based on the terms of the lease and based on an index. The specific timeline for allowed rent changes and the index that it is tied to is detailed in the terms of the lease. Ground lease. With the ground lease, the lease is for the land only. The tenant erects buildings that will be used. These types of leases are usually for a very long period. 99 years is not uncommon. Assignment and sublease. Terms of a lease may allow for an assignment of the lease to another party. An assignment is when the tenant assigns all leased property for the remainder of the lease. A sublease may also be possible. The difference is that the sublease is only assigning a portion of the property or a portion of time to the person taking on the sublease. Sale subject to lease. If a property that is being leased is sold to a new owner, the new owner is bound to the lease agreement. The new owner must honor the terms of a lease. The existence of the lease must be disclosed and handled in the terms of the purchase and sale agreement. Any rent collected in advance by the landlord would be prorated to the new owner and vice versa.